In the chamber this week, we're talking about how we tried to save ourselves by slowly killing ourselves. We're playing with a new game with an old aesthetic, how to manage multiple parties in the same group, and we talk about games and other exciting things. And of course, all the other wacky shenanigans that we can think of. Womp womp boop boop. All this and more on Fandom Roulette. Hey everyone, this is Joe.
Oh, I didn't see you there. This is Cody.
Whoa. I mean, of course we didn't see them. They're listening to this like after the fact. Do you not understand how this is an audio medium, my friend?
Oh, let me rephrase that. Hello, I didn't hear you there. I'm Cody.
Okay, that works much. That works much better. Hey everyone, welcome to Fandom Roulette. How have you been? Oh, you can't respond to us because, yeah. Cody, what nerdy stuff have you been up to this week?
Well, I have been playing way too much Dungeons and Dragons this weekend, and I'll probably be talking a little bit about the other thing in the last section. What have you been up to?
Oh, exciting. I've been doing a lot of reading still. I've been watching a lot of the same stuff I have been watching. I'm almost done with The Tick, season 1.
Nice.
And I've been thinking a lot about it, like a lot about superhero properties in general and things like that. And then what else? I've played a good amount of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Not a crazy amount of Dungeons and Dragons, but a good amount of Dungeons and Dragons. And things are kind of busy at my other gig down at the museum, so that's been fun.
Cool.
But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of juggling, but still managing to get some fun nerdy things in there to kind of cool my brain off in the interim.
Hell yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So shall we start as we always do with a little bit of history?
You know it.
Yeah, I feel like my introduction was like a little bit cryptic. Basically, I was thinking about like, I want to talk about other things, other weird things in history. And I realized that there was this period that I had done a little bit of research on, and I wanted to learn more about, which was basically when we were putting radium in like everything.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, like radioactive elements, like radium. We put it in a lot of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So, a little bit of background. So, I'm assuming you've heard of Marie Curie before. She was kind of like considered like the mother of like radioactive science.
Yeah. I lied. No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, Marie Curie and her husband Pierre were two scientists. Marie Curie gets quite a lot of credit because she's a early prominent female scientist rather, who was able to like gain all kinds of accolades and things like that. And her study into radiation is actually still important to this day. And so in 1898, she discovered this, or she, along with her husband, discovered radium. And she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903, which actually makes her the first woman to win the prize.
That's super cool.
And then I know, right? She was a trailblazer, and a very important one at that. And then she actually won a second Nobel Prize for isolating radium and then discovering polonium, which was another radioactive element. And she was actually the person who coined the word radioactivity. So there we go. That's thanks to her.
Does she also take credit for the song Radioactive?
Yes. she imagined those dragons.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. But so in 1910, we figured out in the United States how to manufacture synthetic radium in the United States, and we weren't quite sure like what it did to us or our bodies. So in America and in Europe and in other places, we were putting radium into like basically everything because people thought that they have these magical healing properties. And the other fun thing, and I think you're gonna get a kick out of this, Cody. People thought it was funny that that would glow in the dark,
This sounds like a terrible idea.
right?
Like
I'm shocked.
who was at the table and was just like, you know what we need to do? We need to jam a bunch of stuff that we don't know what it does into things that we use every day.
Yeah, no, it's kind of wacky. So yeah, so some fun little things that we put our radium into. We put into chocolate.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Well, we so it was made with radium water. Uh, which of course was another thing. There was an invention that was called the Revigorator, or no, the Revigator. Sorry. And so it was a radium laced water crock that you would pour the water into these buckets, and they believed that drinking this delicious radium water would cure anything from like arthritis. It would cure impotence. It would even cure wrinkles. Pretty amazing, right? So if you put that into your chocolate, that was good for the kiddos, so they could get their daily dose of radium as well. Because fun, right?
I think I'm finally starting to understand what's going on now. Like, just
Oh yeah,
worldwide.
yeah. Well, I mean, so like in my research, most of the things I'm finding have like either French or German like advertisements with them. So yeah, this was like a big thing in Europe. Um, there was another fun little toy called the Radium Scope, and this was a kaleidoscope that had radium in it, and so you could see, you would look through it, and you would see all the cool radiation that was going through the tube right into your eyeball.
Right, and
And it could,
then it would
yeah,
turn into your eyeball, and then you lose your vision.
no, it would save your vision, Cody, because this was a magical cure all. There was, yep, there was also radiation toothpaste.
No, come on.
Yep.
Gross.
Uh, I mean, I wonder if people's teeth started like falling out, and like people were just like, "Whoa, what's up with that? I'm confused." Uh, and then this is a fun one, Cody. I pray you, dear listeners. This one's a little hard to listen to. It was used to cure impotence
No, I know where. Come on.
because, yeah, they would make these little radioactive wax rods that you would insert down there.
Oh, come on.
Uh,
Gr-
and then there was another one
oh,
called the Radio Endocrinator, which was a little booklet that had cards soaked in radium
it
that
sounds like
were
a
worn
cult
inside the.
classic.
Right? Oh man, I would watch that. I think. Would you watch that? Yeah.
Oh,
I would
yeah,
watch
of
that.
course.
So basically, what it was is these little teeny tiny cards that were coated in radium, and you would wear them inside your undergarment at night. And then here's a little fun fact for you. Are you ready for this? I think you're gonna get a little tickle out of this one, Cody.
I hope so.
The inventor of the radio endocrinator died of bladder cancer in 1949.
No! I wonder why!
I know it's a mystery.
I'm
Isn't
so
it?
mad right now.
Oh, don't. Be
I'm
mad,
tickled
Cody.
and upset and. Ugh. Why are you
Yeah,
putting that there?
yeah. I mean, hey, yeah. As the old saying goes, don't be putting that down there.
Who
Uh,
said that?
Me right now. I coined the phrase. It's the old
Joe
saying.
2018.
Joe
Don't
invented.
put that in there.
Yep, 2018. It's an old saying now. How long ago was it said? Minutes? That's old.
That's old
That's
in internet
history now.
times.
That's history now, Cody.
Shit.
And one last fun thing, that they don't talk about here, but recently my boss was telling me about this down at uh the museum. Uh, when her parents were kids, there was this machine that would be in shoe stores that were like basically mini X-ray machines that would apparently find the perfect fit for your child's shoes. So your child would put their feet into this little box, and then they would zap them full of radiation, and then you would find out what the best size shoe was for your child.
And then you'd also grow that sixth toe that you've always wanted.
I mean, who doesn't want a sixth toe, Cody?
I mean, what's it used for?
The machine or the sixth
Not
toe?
the toe.
Oh, I mean, well, the machine was to measure your feet. So, I mean, there's so many things you can do with a sixth toe, Cody. So many I can't even think to list them right now.
Oh yeah, is that what that
Yeah.
is?
That's my yes, sir. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh god.
Yes. Oh, they also put it into cosmetics.
What?
So your makeup.
Why?
You're like, because Cody, it cured wrinkles. So my question
I'm
is,
so upset.
yeah, I know it's bizarre, right? It's bizarre that we let it get as far as it did. Like, I want to know, like, so obviously, like, people had kind of been slowly but surely discovering different aspects. And there are like good things that radiation does, like allow us to look on the inside of our bodies briefly.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean it's super useful. But yeah, I just want to know like how how long people started putting two and two together. Like, oh man, like I use this toothpaste every day and my teeth are falling out now. That's so weird. I use my daily dose of uh, Dr. Curie's uh, radiation toothpaste. By the way, oh, I almost forgot to mention this part. That radioactive toothpaste I first mentioned, there was a really popular brand by a guy named Dr. Alfred Curie, who was not related to Marie or Pierre Curie at all, but he was still able to just like pretend like he knew them. Or he was able to capitalize on the name because people just saw the name Curie. They're like, "Oh, it's the radioactive people. I trust them and this brand intrinsically." That wasn't a good call. So,
Oh man.
yeah, I just, you know, I learn about these things, and it's almost as if like people like it's just nuts to me how like why I don't understand how anyone thought it was a good idea. Like, I could understand like no, I couldn't even understand putting it in toys, but it's like I just want to know where these ideas were coming from that this was a healthy thing. Oh, you know, you got to assume that it boils down to old wives' tales to a certain degree,
Sure.
where it's like, oh, like such and such person doesn't have any wrinkles, and they like work with radium. Perhaps radium prevents wrinkles or things like that. It could have just been that their feces were like super duper healthy or things like that. Um, but yeah. So, do you have any questions for me about just putting like literal poison into things that were supposed to help us?
Um, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just more perturbed at the whole situation.
Right?
Was the chocolate any good?
I mean, there's no comment here about this. I mean, and so I think the thing was more it was the fact that it was made with radium water.
Right, right.
So like I guess it depended on what the radium water tasted like. If like the radium created like it's potential that they could have potentially created a slightly like, well, I actually don't know what kind of material radium is. Now that I'm thinking about it, it could have left a little bit of funk in the water, things like that. Um, you know what it's kind of reminiscent to me of in a weird way.
Huh.
Have you ever heard about how the Romans? One of the theories about how the Romans, like, well, okay, so the Romans discovered that like when they would pour their wine into like vessels that were like either had a little bit of a lead content or had like lead paint, like the wine tasted sweeter.
I didn't know
But what
that, but
they
that's neat.
yeah, well, they discovered that like putting like or like maybe even inadvertently, because I know like sometimes people theorize that like there was like lead based clay that they just weren't aware of. But they realized that the wine was sweeter, and so they didn't seem to realize that they were getting lead poisoning this whole time. Whoops.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oops.
I feel like this is bizarrely similar. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I guess I understand from the idea that, like, extra, extra, read all about it. Two people just created it or discovered a new thing. It's great. And then, of course, people were just like, how do we get this thing in our cereal boxes? We've got to sell this shit.
Yeah.
It's hype.
We gotta get these things
It's
into our underpants to cure impotence.
no.
Yeah. That dude died of. And I don't want to make fun of the man for dying of bladder cancer.
No, because bladder cancer
But-
sucks too.
Yeah. Yes. But I just think it's, I wonder if anyone put two and two together after that little fun thing.
I mean,
Anyway,
who
so
knows?
yeah, that's my little bit about radiation in our everyday, day-to-day objects. And another example of how do humans still even exist? Like, yeah. So, anyways, history.
Oh
section.
boy, that's a good one.
Yeah, I thought you might enjoy
There's some
that.
poison in the water.
I wanted to go a little off the beaten path of things we had done, and there's so much cool, weird medical science history out there.
Hell yeah.
I'm not gonna say I'm gonna do it every week because there's, lots of people like talking about it, but I think it's a fun little thing to think about. So
Yeah, it was a nice little change of scenery.
a little change of pace, yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
What is James bringing to the table today?
James?
Our friend James, who's into the videos.
Oh yeah, with his friend Terry.
Oh yeah, a good old Terry. that guy is always brewing something.
He is always brewing something, and I'm gonna kind of go with an oldie. Currently,
Ooh, like a pitfall.
Sort of actually.
Don't fall into the pit.
No.
Fall.
Well, it's a retro game that came out in 2017.
Ooh.
And it was designed by Andrew Moorish, and it was published by Adult Swim Games, which I was kind of surprised about. And it's called Kingsway.
That's interesting. Ooh.
And it's a fantasy role-playing game developed by that guy, and it's presented through the interface of like an old Windows 95 like 1990s operating system.
Uh-huh.
So you have all these windows that pop up, and like there's a window for everything. There's like a window for the map, and then there's a window for like the little music player that plays the music, and
Uh-huh.
there's a little area for your character stats, and then when enemies show up, they produce their own window, and it's this kind of interesting, unique way of doing a role-playing game, because it seems very old and archaic, but they put a lot of like new age spin on it. So like when enemies show up, they're the little bar or the little window where the enemy is. It has your default, like, here's to attack, here's your defense, here's to run away. But then the window is always moving. So you have to kind of, like, chase it around and click the button. And there are certain abilities that the enemies have and the certain abilities that I think you get later on where you can, like, stop that from happening or make it worse. Like, sometime, like, I had a monster attack me who closed my inventory with all my potions in it, and I was like, no! And it's super, like, it's a little chaotic, and I guess the way it works is you always have to keep moving right, because there's this kind of, like, inevitable, like, shadow monster that's kind of, like, slowly appears behind you.
Uh-huh.
And so it's roguelike. And you go through the game, and, like, the first time you play, you're gonna die. Like, that's just a given. You don't know how the game works, and I didn't realize there was a shadow monster behind me that totally, like, fucked me up after the second time I fought it. And so I went through the second time, and so what happens is you'll get, like, a score at the end of your run, and you'll get, like, points, and then you can spend those points to basically upgrade the game. So, like,
Okay.
you can get hotkeys. So, like, instead of having to click on the little icon on the, like, the fake desktop, you can hit C to open up your character panel. And you can, like, click it and, like, hide it. And then you can get different cursors. Like, there's some, like, just kind of, like, fun little cosmetic upgrades. And you can always take something from the last person that you played into your new game.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I got these really sick boots. And my character was really shitty anyway, so, like, when he died, I was like, well, okay, next person. And so I brought those cool boots, and now they're just in my inventory. So now I think I have to be like level 5, and leveling up's really fast in this game. It's kind of it feels very like kind of quick compared to most RPGs because it's kind of a roguelite, and you always kind of have to start, like if you die you start over. There's not like a save system, but like you kind of understand how the game plays, and then you can pick your class, and it's a very, I don't know, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's nostalgic, but it also brings in some neat mechanics that you didn't see in those old school games, and it's like
Sure.
it's super neat.
Yes. I can picture what you're going for, but I don't know if there's actually a term for it.
I mean, I think there are games like this out there. Like, this isn't the only game. This isn't like, I just discovered a new genre. Because Shovel Knight does that, and Shovel Knight does it really well. It plays on our nostalgia for those Mega Man style games, those platformers that were easy to learn, difficult to master. Like, there are tons of games like this, but this one is very specific for fantasy role playing games. And if that interests you, I think this is definitely a good pickup. It's typically super cheap. I don't know how much it is typically, but it is definitely a fun little romp that I've been having. And I would have to say the same for a lot of these retro I don't want to say retro future, that has another term for it, but like these retro games that are coming out that take modern day principles and put them to it, they're super fun.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that sounds kind of cool about it is the this concept of the game kind of fighting back.
Yeah.
Whereas like with Shovel Knight and things like that, it's like very clearly like, what if you know, what if what if early Mega Man developers were able to do all these different things, or like, like what if the robot bosses were allowed, or what if the robot masters, woof, don't at me, were allowed to dialogue with you, and I think there's like a place for that. It's just that it sounds like this one is kind of almost taking that idea and creating a more meta like umbrella to it.
Yeah.
Is there any reveal why it's able to physically mess with your laptop screen versus like the game itself, or
Not really. I think it's just like a neat mechanic they added to the game. I don't necessarily think
okay?
there's like a almost meta narrative that they're trying to teach, but I mean, it's super fun.
I was wondering if there was like a Tron, like this game is becoming sentient and
Oh, that would be a gem, but unfortunately, no.
whatever. It was just a curiosity thing.
Yeah, of course.
And wow, Cody, I mean, video games are like so expensive. How much would it cost me to buy and pay this here video game?
That's a good question. You're gonna have to hold on a second.
Oh wait, I thought you were telling me about earlier how it was part of, if you
No,
had
no,
like
no,
that
no, no,
thing.
no, no. We need sponsorship for that.
Oh, okay.
We gotta hold out for that. Hold on. I'll
Whoops.
find them. I'll find them.
Never mind. Ignore everything I was saying
Okay,
there.
I'll cut this.
I mean, I think this is golden. Just whisper about sponsorships. Yeah, I think they're gonna notice. They're gonna be like, "Oh shit, we got to sponsor the podcast."
Twitch, get at me. Sponsor the podcast.
Sponsor,
Sponsor.
sponsor. So,
Uh,
anyways,
it's on the
sounds like,
PC, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that at first. It's kind of implied, but it's for PC.
oh, cool. I mean, I would assume so, considering that, yeah, it's like making fun, or playing around with your like Windows 95 nostalgia.
Right. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been playing this week. Games.
That's
I
fun.
know God of War's coming out, but I'm not. I wasn't.
Dad of War.
Yeah, Dad of War. I wasn't. I didn't really play the first three. I think I played the first one for a little bit, but it was doing that thing that was really popular in like I want to say the 2000s, where games were extraordinarily difficult to just be difficult, and it didn't feel like I was learning anything with the difficulty. It was just being difficult to be difficult. Like sometimes they would just add either mechanics or like quests that you had to do in order to move forward that felt very like, oh, there's really no point except the developers wanted to waste my time.
Interesting.
So I never got into it, though this game does look really good, like just visually, and it's set in Norse mythology, and I'm not a super big fan of like the Greek and Roman pantheons, very but
Whoa.
I love Norse mythology because it's just so fucking metal.
It's also just so much more weird.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, they live like on a super tree, so like.
Well, and the fact that like they can die, like the gods are as mortal as humans.
Could they?
Yeah, that's like the whole thing about Ragnarok is once Ragnarok happens, all the gods die as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, the new God of War looks really good, and it's like done in Norse mythology. So like, I'm really hoping to see like I'm gonna watch people play it. I don't think I'm going to jump in on game 4, but I'm excited to watch people play it.
Thanos becomes a dad.
Hell yeah!
He gets a little ward that he teaches his ways.
But yeah, I think in the upcoming weeks, just because God of War is, I think, the only real thing that's coming out anytime soon, I'm gonna kind of go back and play some. Go through my Steam library and really play the games that I've never touched but look interesting. So you will see more of these random Steam games that I'm playing.
Ooh, I mean, I could talk about that too. Although I haven't played my games in a little while.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. It would be fun to
My
share our
Steam library is so small and pathetic. Although apparently Darkest Dungeons is like super cheap right now.
Yes, go if you don't have Darkest Dungeons, fucking pick that up. That game is good.
It looks like it's like $9 right now.
Yeah.
The next like 2 days.
And I think the expansions are also pretty cheap too. Like I think they're also on reduced price. If this game or if this podcast comes out while that sale is on, if you like tactics games that are grim, dark, and unforgiving, this game is up your alley. This game is so good.
Yeah, get at us, Gabe.
Or
see, I know that video game reference.
Or Red Hook Studios, but you know.
I mean, he owns Steam, right?
Well, right, but never mind. You're right.
What? What's happening? Who's what?
Nothing. We're just gonna get added hard.
What? Oh, shh.
Shh.
Don't at
me.
Oh, no, don't at us. We're sensitive boys.
Oh, so sensitive. So
we don't. That's it. Podcast cancel. Podcast.
Someone insulted us. Podcast is over.
So we're done. Bye. Get out of here.
No, you got to do the thing that you've been training your entire life for this very moment.
What's that?
The middle section song.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I need you to sing us into the middle section.
Never even heard of. What's the middle section?
Oh, this is the game we're playing this week, huh?
What?
You know, the middle section where we talk about all the things to help support us because...
Who? The middle section?
Yes, the middle section.
Middle section? Middle section? Middle section! It's capital M and that rhymes with Blum and that stands for support us. That stands for support us. It's a middle section where we're going to tell you about all the things and all the things in the middle section. It's an old school Broadway number. It's an old school Broadway number. Middle section, middle section, middle section, middle section, middle section. Done.
Oh, so good.
That was my worst one yet.
If you guys want to tell Joe how good that middle section, or how bad, I don't want to judge.
Yeah, tell me that one. Don't encourage that kind of behavior.
You can tweet us at fandomr_podcast. That is our Twitter handle, and that's where Joe will be.
That's where Twitter is.
That is. If you want to send us a private email if you want to ask us questions or tell us how you feel about the things that we're talking about. Maybe you'd like to have us go further into detail, things we're doing that, maybe we're not right. Who knows? Good or bad, you can send us a fan letter at fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com. You can also, if you're looking for a quick, dirty, easy way to get to the podcast for maybe your little old grandpa who likes video games and wants to hear us chat and doesn't know the fancy iTunes or the SoundCloud, you can direct all of those people, including your grandfather, to www.fandomroulette.com. That is where we'll be. We have a bio there talking a little bit more about us. We're going to put notes in there and posts about, big things coming around, like when the Facebook page actually shows up.
It'll be coming around the mountain when it comes. It'll be coming around the mountain when it comes. It'll be coming around the mountain when it comes.
Okay. And then last but not least, we're on iTunes and SoundCloud. Get at us, share us, rate, review, share, all of the things.
Review, share, rate, supply.
We had a big influx of people come in. So for all of you newcomers, thank you so much. You have been delightful.
Welcome.
And for all those people who are veterans, who've been watching since the beginning.
Who've been here since on the ground floor. Hey, people who've just started listening this week, please take out your earbuds for a second.
No, don't. Don't do this.
What are you talking about? You don't even know what I'm about to do. This is going to be set at a frequency for the people who've been listening to us at episode 1. I love you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, you're so valuable to us. You guys are true believers.
Yes, to everybody new and old, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for listening to us. But that's not it. This is just the middle section.
What?
Yeah.
Oh! I thought you said there was more stuff in the middle section. I thought you were about to hit me with a sponso.
No, no sponsors. However, we are looking. We are willing to sell out. So.
Oh boy! I'm ready. Please send me blue aprons in the mail. Oh. I want to make those bad boys. I want to talk about cool glasses that I could get in the mail.
Yeah.
Do you know how much, Cody? Do you know how much shit we can get in the mail these days?
I hear a lot. There's boxes for everything.
There's literally boxes. Oh, Cody. I thought of a fun new unboxing thing that I have a fun acronym for it.
Yes.
It's gonna be just unboxing nerdy knickknacks.
Just unboxing nerdy knickknacks. Junk? Oh. And this is the part of the podcast where Cody's an idiot.
Potential sponsorships that we could have gotten from unboxing services.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Those are super cool and fun. I like the one with dogs. I like that BarkBox one.
BarkBox?
That one's super cute.
That's super
cute.
Yeah,
you get like adorable things. A couple months, I think like 2 months ago, it was like Bob.
Okay,
Ross
hold up. Before you go too far, we got to hold out. Sponsorship. Get at us. Email us.
Yeah. Don't ignore the term bark. Ignore the thing I said about BarkBox. That's not a thing. Shh. Don't look it up until we get that cash in our pockets.
All right.
So anyways, middle section. All right.
Oh.
I bet the audio spike on that one's gonna be fun.
Oh God, it was bad on Discord.
All right. Hey Cody.
Yeah.
There's a knock at the door.
Who's that?
Oh man, we both did a little bit of Foley work on that one. Creak. Oh, hot off the presses. It's our assistant, the vampire, who has a garbage character for me to tell you about all of our friends about.
Wait, did you outsource us to a vampire?
No, he's our assistant.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
get the memo on that.
his name's Terry. He's a nice guy.
Oh, Terry.
Yeah,
Well, tell
he's
him I said
okay.
hi.
So anyway, he says a little bright in here,
Well,
so he left.
are you
I have no
sure?
idea where this bit is coming from.
Oh God, this is a terrible bit. Let's
I
eject, abort, get out of here.
so anyways, but what is true is that I have a garbage kid here, which is of course from our soon to be hit segment, and by that I mean our already hit segment, Garbage Kid, which is our little show within a show where
Yeah.
we talk to you, where we completely at random roll a character, and you're probably asking yourself, Cody, man, Joe, where did you randomly roll this character from?
Yeah,
Because
I do want to know that.
because you forget that you do one every other week, and much like a goldfish,
I
like
know. I spent like weeks making charts with numbers, and I went on the internet. Like, is there an easier way
uh,
to do this?
there sure is, Cody. If you go to a little book called Xanathar's Guide to Everything. No, I know what you're saying. Everything? Yes, everything. Yeah,
Everything?
I stole the joke from you because I knew you were ready to do it, but I decided
Damn
I was
it.
going to do it instead. Ha!
Some bitch. You
Yeah.
got me.
So
Ooh,
I
that
just
was a.
wanted, Cody, are you ready for this name?
Yes.
It's. I was teasing Cody about this earlier. This comes from. It's the best name ever. It's Claymore Spirit War.
Oh! So good.
Yeah, that's a good one, huh?
Tell me
So
more.
my good friend Claymore Spirit War is a human monk who was an explorer or wanderer.
Ooh.
Uh, he knew who his parents were, uh,
Boring.
and he was born among people of a different race.
Oh.
Uh, he has one older sibling, and he was raised by his paternal or maternal grandparents. Your choice, listener, because his parents died in a battle.
Oh, that's so
Sad.
sad.
Uh, their family was poor, and they lived in an apartment in a rundown neighborhood. And others saw them as strange or different, so they had few companions.
Man,
Uh,
you really just rolled like poo on that part.
yeah, it wasn't a good. And so they were an explorer and or wanderer because after a tragedy, they retreated to the wilderness, leaving their old life behind.
Sounds about
And
right.
then they became a monk because they were wild and undisciplined as a youngster, but realized the error of their ways, so they applied to live. They applied to a monastery and became a monk to live a life as a way to live a life of discipline. Wow, Joe.
Wow. Was the wait long? Like, what kind of paperwork do you have to fill out to join a monastery?
I mean, it depends on the monastery.
That's true.
Yeah. And by the way, dear listener, if you go to the monk supplemental section of Xanathar's Guide to everything, uh, you can actually roll like what kind of like monastery they were from and like what their monasteries like guardians were and things like that. It's really cool. You can like flesh out some cool stuff like for instance, real quick, and then I'll go back to Claymore Spirit War. Um, God, what a good name. Uh, they like for clerics, one of the things is like you secretly believe that the gods aren't real, but like you're still worshiping them on the off chance that they might take your magic away. Things like that.
Huh.
So Claymore Spirit War is 31 to 40 years old and has had 4 life events. They spent time working a job related to their background. I have no idea what that would be as an
Boo.
explorer or wanderer.
I mean, he could
Uh,
have been a hunter. Sold pelt and meat.
that's fair. Or I was thinking like a tour guide or something like that. And over there, you'll
Yeah.
see the Grand Canyon. I went on. They went on an adventure and was poisoned by a trap or a monster. They recovered, but the next time you make a saving throw against poison, you make the saving throw with disadvantage.
Oof. Rough.
Uh, they committed a crime or were wrongly accused of doing so. That crime was smuggling, and they were nearly caught in the act. They had to flee and are wanted in the community where the crime occurred. And
Yeah.
then you met someone important use the supplemental table to determine the character's identity and how this individual feels about you, which I failed to do that bit.
You know what? That's because it's for the audience members.
That's true. So hey, you know how Cody's always like, give me some Talon fanfic. That's old news. Give us some Claymore Spirit. No, you can also give us Talon fanfic.
I still want Talon fanfic.
I want Claymore Spirit War fanfic.
Well, now we both have fanfic that we want. So, guys, get at us at fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com.
Ship them.
So good.
So yeah, that is Claymore Spirit War. Feel free to use this wacky monk in your campaign.
Hell yeah.
What is wrong with me today?
I mean,
I feel like I sound like a crazy person this week.
I mean, we probably just sound like crazy people in general. I think we're just starting to become self-aware.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, I was having struggle reading some of those words. I think I don't know why. Anyway, yeah. So, of course, Garbage Kid is so seamless a transition into the RPG section because Cody and I do a lot of that.
A lot.
Yeah. So Cody, I heard rumors that there was a question.
You know, I have been getting feedback and questions from a few of our fans.
Cool.
And the one I wanted to talk about today was sent in by John and Keisha. Thank you guys so much.
Whoa, 2 people.
Yeah, both of them helped come up with some stuff.
I just assumed it was one person who, because I assumed we had one listener.
Anyway, no, this is 2 listeners. We're moving up in the world.
That's crazy. Well, hi guys, thank you for emailing us. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. So their
question, Cody.
Their question is, what is the best way to distribute time when the party is split up?
Oh, this is a good question.
This is a good question. I actually just recently did this. I think a big.
I'm unaware of this. He said.
The short answer is this is different for every group, but I'm going to take the long way around and tell you why it's different for every group.
Sure.
As you know, I am a Advent believer, practitioner, and loyal cult follower of Session Zero, which for those of you who are just coming in right now, this is the role-playing game session. Session 0 is where you bring in your would-be party and your would-be DM and kind of get everything out in the open and out in the air about how the game is going to proceed.
Sure.
I try to do this with at least all of my groups. I actually just did a Session 0 on Sunday with another group that we're starting a campaign, which is going to be super hilarious and fun. But anyways, off tangent. Getting back on track. Best way to distribute time? I think that depends. I think sometimes it's easy to do it with the group. If those people are new and, fresh into Dungeons and Dragons, I think, or role-playing games in general, I shouldn't be so specific to Dungeons and Dragons. I think that if they're new, they're going to just listen to whatever you have to say and kind of go with the flow, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think, personally, I try to divvy up the time equally between characters. I always make sure that if we're ever in a situation where, half the party went to town to go get help while the other half went to defend, I'm always asking everybody during each section, what are you doing? So, let's say there's 4 people. I start with player 1. Player 1, what are you doing? Oh, I'm running back to town. Okay, cool. Player 2, what are you doing? I'm staying back. And then I keep doing that until the party comes back together. Now, sometimes it doesn't, for progression that doesn't move very quickly. So sometimes what I'll do is much like splitting the party, I'll split up the time. And I usually let my players know when this is going to happen or that this is a possibility. Like, hey, if you split up, there will be times where your character is off doing something and is not in the spotlight. I hope that's okay, but don't worry. I'll put the spotlight back on you soon. And I think as a DM, I think you need to be consciously aware of the time that you're putting on everybody. Everyone should be in the spotlight at some point, but maybe not you as the dungeon master. You will create stuff to put other people into spotlight. So in terms of party split up, just make sure you're constantly switching between people so that people are still engaged. Another tactic that I've used before, and that's kind of the big one that I'm going to talk about, is sometimes when you split up the party, that party member or those group of party members aren't going to be with the main group for a very long time. It might not just be 10 and 20 minutes of gameplay. Like maybe they need a whole session. I will run side sessions with people when they're not with the party, and then as the DM decide when they kind of fit back in. I did that with a recent party member who flung himself into the Shadowfell and met a literal god, did all that kind of stuff, etc., etc. And yeah, it was super fun. We did I guess technically 1.5 sessions. I think our final session was actually after one of the sessions that the party did.
Yeah.
And and take this as you will, but if that party member's gone, I often give them they're still at that session, I usually give them the role of an NPC, or maybe give them a role of a new player character who's just there temporarily.
Yep.
And I often work with the player to figure that out. Honestly, best way to distribute time, making sure everyone is playing. If there is a moment where you are even thinking that, oh man, I haven't actually talked to player 4 in a while, just do it. Just be like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah. And, sometimes it could be as simple as player 4 isn't necessarily as invested in the happenings as players 1 and 2.
Sure.
So you can sometimes give them options for other things that they could be doing to maybe hopefully get them a little bit more invested. Or sometimes people are cool with just a little bit of time to sit there and think, or plan the next big thing that they want to do.
Right.
Although, as you said, it's always important to make sure everyone is feeling involved and having a good old time.
Right, and I think part of that, and this is why I said every table is different. Some people are going to be okay with, hey, I really enjoy combat. I'm not quite into the whole role-playing aspect, so I'm gonna check out. Sometimes that happens. Some people are more interested in combat than role-playing and vice versa. So if they tell you in and out of sessions hey, no, I'm good, you don't have to give me the spotlight at this certain time, those are things you're going to learn, and I think those are going to be things that you will take with you, and you'll basically, I would say after 5-10 sessions, depending on how long you play, you'll have a pretty good idea of how to distribute time. And yeah, that is the long way around to it varies from table to table.
Yeah. And then I think another thing too, going off of the if your party is physically split up for a lengthy amount of time, figure out a way to make sure that both sides have a relatively similar level of stakes.
Yeah, of course.
So we might have talked about this briefly on the show, but there was a about a year in game and a couple of months out of game where me and my friend, both in game and my best friend, both in and out of game, were separated from the party because we wanted to do something that was initially pitched as a side quest, but was really important to my character. And so, we had a whole year that we had to kill, and so there are actually some pretty cool tools around it. I think Xanathar's Guide to Everything actually adopted a lot of what we were using, which at the time was Unearthed Arcana, downtime stuff.
Yep.
But Dungeons and Dragons gives you a lot of options for how best to spend downtime without necessarily having these characters play literally every single day of a full year away from the party. We broke it up into weeks. So what's the big event that your character wants to do this week? And then we would do a couple of rolls. And so I think what out of every month, 1 week we got a little bit more detailed and we had like combat encounters, and then the rest of the weeks it was basically just dice rolling. But it felt really important, and it actually ended up having some pretty big consequences later on down the road in our campaign.
It did.
As opposed to just like, all right, well, you guys split up the party, roll new characters, and then we'll resolve what happened to you guys when they get back. Like that's kind of lame because like there was a very real reason why we did the actions, or why we did the actions that we did. So I feel like if that ever happened, be sure to give those characters that broke away uh, enough semblance of why you did this matters to make them feel like they didn't just waste everyone's time by splitting up the party. You know?
For sure. I totally get that. And also for you would-be DMs out there who are like, I don't really know how to handle basically long periods of time where maybe there's an adventurer who isn't out adventuring, maybe for reasons in the story. Xanathar's Guide to Everything and the Dungeon Master's Guide have lots of great ideas on how to basically shorthand a long period of time. So take a look at those. And there are tons of people online who also do this. And it's so for those of you who are like, well, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons, I play Star Wars RPG. Like, I get it. Don't worry about that. Go online, look at the basically the resource books that they give you to play the game. There should be stuff in there. And if there isn't, there are people online who are for sure making it, because what's a game without a little bit of R&R?
For sure.
Yeah, that's the role-playing section for those of you who are just tuning in. Should we move on to our final and, dare I say, climactic conclusion of the podcast?
Whoa, okay. Let's do it.
Okay, so I got to, over the weekend, hang out with some people who I don't get to see very often. They live out in various states, and they are huge board game nerds. Like,
awesome.
every board game that you could possibly think of, they have or have played, and can let me know, like, hey. And they have recommended me going to like Gen Con and all these gaming, like, board game conventions, and I'm so totally down. We are totally going to do this in the future. And so originally they came to hang out. We were going to go out drinking, and like, but wait, you got to play this game. It's called Scythe. It's fantastic. And I'm here to tell you, it is enjoyable and fantastic. I love it.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so if I were to give you an elevator pitch, which I do enjoy doing, this is Risk meets Settlers of Catan in a 1920s European diesel punk dystopian future kind of thing.
Whoa. That was a lot of stuff.
That is a lot of stuff. So those of you who, I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with Risk. So for those of you who aren't, it is a war game that basically you get to play as, the big armies of, the world, and you go and try to take over the rest of the world through military strategy by gathering more gathering more units and pushing them over other people's units. I could do a whole podcast probably on Risk, but everyone knows Risk. Settlers of Catan, for those of you who aren't board game junkies, is a resource management game where you and up to, I want to say 5, although there are many expansions that probably change the way that works. Basically, you are settlers in this world, and supplies and resources are limited, so you often have to trade, barter, or otherwise move yourself strategically through this map that has resources on it. So this game is a combination of it. It's part war game, part resource management, all chopped up in this super cool diesel punk mechs that fight for territory. And basically, I think the overall story, I guess if you could even call it that, is that all of, the Great War happened, and so these factions are basically trying to recover from this great kind of economic crisis, if you will. And you get these and first off, I have to say that the little tokens and the little pieces that you get are so like some of them are like normal pieces, like the normal things that, like the meeples, like the little people, and then like little hearts and stars and things like that. But there are like, they made 5 really detailed mechs for each class, or for each faction, and they're all intrinsically different. Like it's not just color coded. Like the people that I was playing, which was basically like Diesel Punk Russia, were these like kind of Mad Cat looking like boxes with like scythes attached to their arms and like Gatling guns on their shoulders. And then Jess, my fiance, was playing, and her units were basically boats with like legs on them.
Okay.
And then like there was another group that was like this big metal ball with a turret on the front of it, but it also had these kind of like spider legs. And like the detail that was put into this game and the love that was put into this game, fantastic. But yeah, it is a long game, and I can't, like, at first there are a lot of rules, and at first it can be very like intimidating to hear all this stuff. But the beauty, I think, of this game is that there might be a bunch of these rules and things that you have to learn, and it can be a little daunting at first. But once you play it, and once you start to see how all of the cogs start to turn, it's so quick. It's so, like, turns aren't super long like they can be in, like, typical war games. There are so many, like, layers of... So, like, your objective is to gain points, and you gain points through various, like, things. So there's popularity. So you have popularity amongst your people, and you can gain more by, like, investing in certain areas, or going to certain locations and picking up cards. And you can lose popularity by attacking other people. So going a full frontal war isn't great if you're worried about popularity, which eventually leads you to gaining more points down the road. So there's a lot of like intrinsic balance things that are like interconnected, and it really turns into this strategy game. Like, all right, I need to, and like the whole the way the game ends is you basically complete these basic like achievements, if you will. So like, I build all of my mechs, I get an achievement, and you have 6 achievements that you have to get before the game ends. So for some people, if you do a lot of cool things that give you a lot of points or money, you rush for you rush the 6 achievements, and you get that, and you stop the game before other people can start completing them. But there's all this stuff going on because like you want to also make a bunch of money. So like there's this kind of risk reward on holding off on getting achievements versus getting achievements, and going to war versus not going to war. Like everything has kind of like a risk reward situation. And the art is fantastic. I believe the illustrator, his name is Jacob, and I'm going to butcher this, really sorry, Jacob Rizalski. And
that sounds pretty good.
And everything that's made, like the cards all have these beautiful pictures, and it's really funny because in the rules they're like, hey, read the, or like show the pictures to the players, this is awesome. And it's super good. There's a lot of strategy. There's lots of different layers to the game, but it's like I said, I think we use the term a lot, and I think a lot of people really kind of enjoy this style of game, which is easy to learn, difficult to master. And this is definitely one of those games that I'm going to pick up when I get the cash. The board game, what? The board game itself is roughly between $55 to $60 American. I don't know how that translates to other places, but
how much?
It's about 50 to 60.
Oh, okay, I heard 150.
No.
Oh,
50.00 money sign. Money sign, yeah. And this, so for $50, there's also expansions already out. This game came out 2016. It was a Kickstarter game, actually, if I'm not mistaken, and it raised a lot of money. I believe it was pretty close to 2 million. And I have literally never heard a bad thing about this game. Like, this is a very, very well put together game. This game got a lot of love, and rumor has it that they're developing a RTS based on this this artist's like rendition of what Scythe looks like. So it's super cool.
Yeah.
If you are a board game person and you're looking for something that's like strategy, tactics, plays a little like Settlers of Catan, this game is perfect.
Yeah, that sounds really rad.
Yeah.
So about how big is the board?
The board is gigantic.
Okay.
I have a table that folds out. So like there's a plate, there's like a wooden plate on top of it. So the table basically doubles in size, and it's about the width and length of like a sectional couch. So pretty big table. And we were able to fit all the pieces, but barely.
Okay.
So it's a pretty huge game. So if that's a thing that might put you over the edge, it is a very large board, but it looks gorgeous. I can't praise this game enough. It's a great game.
It does sound pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to try it out at some point.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be picking it up. So I will definitely I will want your opinion on the game when everything is said and done.
I would love to give it.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. It also sounds like it might be a good place to wrap her up.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This was as always a pleasure. Listen to how professional that voice sounded.
So professional.
So professional. I'm just peak professional over here. Please rate, subscribe, tell a friend, show a friend. Do all the things. Listen to the middle section again. Tweet at us, etc., etc. But signing off from Phantom Roulette, this is Joe. Oh, I didn't hear you there. I'm Cody. What? No, you can't end. Oh, no. We're going to have to talk about how that turn of phrase works in, like, the human realm. But anyway, just signing off from Joe. And I'm Cody. And as always, stay nerdy. Stay super nerdy.